plug it in. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the live studios here in Radha Lane for the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. We were taking a little journey through the history of the universe, and we've reached the 9th canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. There's 12 cantos, and we have some new spiritual seekers with us today. We welcome them with open arms, and all of you out there in cyberspace, welcome, and please don't forget to share the nectar that we're hearing every day. This 9th canto is very special because it describes the genealogical tables. Our forefathers, how they have these new, sites where you can plug in your name and it can tell you who your forefathers were. But everybody wants to know where they came from. Well, I don't know if everybody does, but a lot of people do. And that's why astrology is popular, because everyone wants to know what's going to happen. Everyone's, spinning their wheels. They're afraid, everyone, because they don't know what's going to happen next. What to speak of death? They don't know what's going to happen. So, reading the Srimad-Bhagavatam, we find out what's happened and what's going to happen. And this knowledge relieves us of material anxiety completely. But we have to digest it. Hey, Hare Krishna, it's done. Haribo. Okay, there's a great soul that appeared in our line of spiritual masters. His name is Sanatana Goswami. And he wrote about 500 years ago a beautiful prayer glorifying this book that we're reading, the Srimad-Bhagavatam. So by hearing this, the Sanskrit is purifying, and hearing the English translation will help us enter properly into this transcendental literature. It's called Srimad-Bhagavata Mihima Stotram, the glories of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Listen to it carefully, and it'll explain to you what we're about to read. Okay? It goes like this. Sarva Shashabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarva Lokaika Drikprida. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kalidvan Nitya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all these Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Shri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Shri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguru Mad Mahadana Mad Nishtadaga Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadhu tadayin atini chuchata kada hanamuncha gada chinmam prem darit kantayospuda. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter to the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So this is the 21st chapter entitled The Dynasty of Bharata. In before 5,000 years ago, and even today, if you go to India, on the note, the paper note currency, there's the words Bharatvarsha. Bharatvarsha. Bharatvarsha was the name of the Earth planet before it became India, and this was America. This is way before all these things happened. So this person we're hearing the dynasty of, Bharat, some authorities say that the earth was called Bharatvarsha because of the reign of this king, who was the emperor of the earth. And others say that it was because the reign of the son of Rishabdev, the eldest son of Rishabdev, whose name was also Bharat, who was also an emperor of the earth. But in either case, these two personalities were great leaders, great emperors of the earth that led the whole planet and all the population, all the living beings, into spiritual perfection. So we're going to hear the names of persons that link this person to us. So it may seem just one name after another, but these names are holy names. So please read them with attention, or hear them rather with attention. And even if you don't know who they are or much about them, just the sound of the names in the Sanskrit language will purify your heart. And there's always something in the purports to enlighten us further about. Okay, text 1. Shukadev Goswami said, because Bharadvaj was delivered by the Murut demigods, he was known as Vitata. The son of Vitata was Manu, and from Manu came 5 sons, Brihakshatra, Jaya, Mahavirya, Nara, and Garga. Of these 5, the one known as Nara had a son named Sankriti. So the 9th canto culminates the first part of the Bhagavatam, and the 10th canto describes the pastimes of Krishna, the original source of all these different personalities and all living beings, as I said before. So it's a preparation, it's preparing us to come to the 10th canto so that we can hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead with more full consciousness, full knowledge about who He is. Text 2. O Maharaj Parikshit, descendant of Pandu, Sankriti had 2 sons named Guru and Rantidev. Rantidev is famous in both this world and the next, for he is glorified not only in human society, but also in the society of the demigods. 3-5. Rantidev never endeavored to earn anything. He would enjoy whatever he got by the arrangement of providence. But when guests came, he would give them everything. Thus he underwent considerable suffering, along with the members of his family. Indeed, he and his family members shivered for want of food and water. Yet Rantidev always remained sober. Once, after fasting for 48 days, in the morning, Rantidev received some water and some foodstuffs made with milk and ghee. But when he and his family were about to eat, a Brahmana guest arrived. Text 6. Because Rantidev perceived the presence of the Supreme Godhead everywhere and in every living entity, he received the guest with faith and respect and gave him a share of the food. The Brahmana guest ate his share and then went away. Rantidev perceived the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every living being. But he never thought that because the Supreme Lord is present in every living being must be God. Nor did he distinguish between one living being and another. He perceived the presence of the Lord both in the Brahmana and in the Chandala. This is the true vision of equality, as confirmed by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 5:18. Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmine Gavihastini Shuni Chaiva Shipake Cha Pandita Samadarshanaha. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater, outcast. A Pandit, or learned person, perceives the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every living being. Therefore, although it has now become fashionable to give preference to the so-called Daridra Narayana, or poor Narayana, by that it's meant that people tend to worship poor people thinking that they are sons of God, but they don't see everyone equally as sons of God. That's a mistake. Rantidev had no reason to give preference to any one person. The idea that because Narayana is present in the heart of one who is Daridra or poor, the poor man should be called Daridra Narayan is a wrong conception. By such logic, because the Lord is present within the hearts of the dogs and hogs would also be Narayana. One should not mistakenly think that Rantidev subscribed to this view. Rather, he saw everyone as part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari Sambandhi Vastunaha. It is not that everyone is the Supreme Godhead. Such a theory, which is propounded by the Mayavad philosophy, is always misleading, and Rantidev would never have accepted it. Text 7. Thereafter, having divided the remaining food with his relatives, Rantidev was just about to eat his own share when a Shudra guest arrived. Seeing the Shudra in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, King Rantidev gave him also a share of the food. Purport. Because King Rantidev saw everyone as a part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he never distinguished between the Brahmana and the Shudra, the poor and the rich. Such equal vision is called Samadarshana, Pandita Darshana. One who has actually realized that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated in everyone's heart and that every living being is part of the Lord, does not make any distinction between the Brahmana and the Shudra, the poor, Daridra, and the rich, Dhani. Such a person sees all living beings equally and treats them equally without discrimination. Text 8. When the Shudra went away, another guest arrived, surrounded by dogs, and said, "O king, I and my company of dogs are very hungry. Please give us something to eat." Text 9. With great respect, King Rantidev offered the balance of the food to the dogs and the master of the dogs, who had come as guests. The king offered them all respects and obeisances. Text 10. Thereafter, only the drinking of water remained, and there was only enough to satisfy one person. But when the king was just about to drink it, a Chandala appeared and said, "O king, although I am low-born, kindly give me some drinking water." Text 11. Aggrieved at hearing the pitiable words of the poor fatigued Chandala, Maharaj Rantidev spoke the following nectarian words. Purport. Maharaj Rantidev's words were like amrita, or nectar, and therefore, aside from rendering bodily service to an aggrieved person, by his words alone, the king could save the life of anyone who might hear him. Text 12. I do not pray to the Supreme Personality of Godhead for the 8 perfections of mystic yoga, nor for salvation from repeated birth and death. I want only to stay among all the living entities and suffer all distresses on their behalf, so that they may be freed from suffering. Purport. Vasudeva Datta made a similar statement to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, requesting the Lord to liberate all living entities in his presence. Vasudeva Datta submitted that if they were unfit to be liberated, he himself would take all their sinful reactions and suffer personally, so that the Lord might deliver them. A Vaishnava is therefore described as being para dukkha dukhi, very much aggrieved by the suffering of others. As such, a Vaishnava engages in activities for the real welfare of human society. Text 13. By offering my water to maintain the life of this poor Chandala who is struggling to live, I have been freed from all hunger, thirst, fatigue, trembling of the body, moroseness, distress, lamentation, and illusion. Text 14. Having spoken thus, King Rantidev, although on the verge of death because of thirst, gave his own portion of water to the Chandala without hesitation, for the king was naturally very kind and sober. Text 15. Demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, who can satisfy all materially ambitious men by giving them the rewards they desire, then manifested their own identities before King Rantidev, for it was they who had presented themselves as the Brahmana, Shudra, Chandala, and so on. Text 16. King Rantidev had no ambition to enjoy material benefits from the demigods. He offered them obeisances, but because he was factually attached to Lord Vishnu, Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he fixed his mind at Lord Vishnu's lotus feet. Purport. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung, Anya Deva Shaya Nai, Tomare Kainu Bai, E Bhakti Parama Karana. If one wants to become a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord, one should not hanker to take benedictions from the demigods. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7:20, Kamaistais Tayar Rityajnana Prapadyantain Yadevataha. Those befooled by the illusion of the material energy worship gods other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, although Rantidev was personally able to see Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, he did not hanker to take material benefits from them. Rather, he fixed his mind upon Lord Vasudeva and rendered devotional service unto him. This is the sign of a pure devotee, whose heart is not adulterated by material desires. Anyabilashita shunyam jnana karmadyanavritam anukulyene krishnanu shilanam bhaktir uttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord, Krishna, favorably, and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. Text 17. O Maharaj Parikshit, because King Rantidev was a pure devotee, always Krishna conscious and free from all material desires, the Lord's illusory energy, Maya, could not exhibit herself before him. On the contrary, for him Maya entirely vanished, exactly like a dream. Purport. As it is said, Krishna Surya Sama Mayahaya Andakara Yahan Krishna Taha Nahi Maya Adhikara. Just as there is no chance that darkness can exist in the sunshine, in a pure Krishna conscious person there can be no existence of Maya. The Lord himself says in Bhagavad Gita 7:14, Daivi Yesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mam Eva Ye Prapadyante Maya Metam Tadantite. This divine energy of mine, consisting of the three material modes of nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. If one wants to be free from the influence of Maya, the illusory energy, one must become Krishna conscious and always keep Krishna prominent within the core of his heart. In Bhagavad Gita 9:34, the Lord advises that one always think of him. Manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. In this way, by always being Krishna-minded or Krishna-conscious, one can surpass the influence of Maya. Maya metam tadantite. Now the word popular nowadays is what? Mindfulness. Everybody's trying to become mindful in order to rise above the anxieties of the material world. But here we're finding out what real mindfulness means. It means to fix the mind and always think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the source of everything. The philosophy that the source is impersonal has entered into the subconscious of the human society and caused people to lose their love, lose their capacity. In order to think of someone always, you must love them. It's not possible to think about another person constantly unless you love them. And in order to love someone, you have to know them. So if God is not a person, how can you know him? It's not possible. Therefore, it's just a bluff, actually. But here, real mindfulness, it doesn't mean to stop the mind and just go into some kind of amorphous state where your mind stops and you become free from anxiety. Because the soul is active and the soul wants love, the soul wants affection, the soul wants knowledge, the soul wants eternal life. That's the nature of spiritual existence. In this way, by always being Krishna-minded or Krishna-conscious, one can surpass the influence of Maya. Maya metam tadantite. Because Rantidev was Krishna-conscious, he was not under the influence of the illusory energy. The word swapnabhat is significant in this connection, because in the material world, the mind is absorbed in materialistic activities. When one is asleep, many contradictory activities appear in one's dreams. When one awakens, however, these activities automatically merge into the mind. Similarly, as long as one is under the influence of the material energy, he makes many plans and schemes. But when one is Krishna conscious, such dreamlike plans automatically disappear. Text 18. All those who followed the principles of King Rantidev were totally favored by his mercy and became pure devotees, attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. Thus they all became the best of yogis. Purport. The best yogis or mystics are the devotees, as confirmed by the Lord himself. in Bhagavad Gita 647. So this is very important, because also what's popular now is yoga. Everybody wants to get into yoga. Hot yoga, cold yoga, nude yoga, this yoga, that yoga. What?
Goat yoga.
Goat yoga. I saw this. I saw this clip. I saw this news clip, and there was a new kind of yoga. It was called paddleboard yoga. So they got onto a paddleboard out in the middle of the ocean, and they started raising their legs on the back of with the back of the, and one of them fell off and drowned. Yeah. Hare Krishna. So the Bhagavad Gita, which is the essence of all these books that we're reading from, is spoken by Krishna, and it describes the yoga ladder. There's actually a yoga ladder that takes us from karma yoga, or working for the Supreme, all the way to bhakti yoga, in which all of our mind and body and senses and intelligence are used in service of the Supreme. And it can be done anywhere, anytime. When you're walking around doing what you do, you can be in full yoga. You don't have to sit down and put your foot up here and another foot over here, and put yourself into a pretzel, and then try to hold your breath for as long as you can, and then pop out and whatever else you do while you're doing it. You can do this. The best of yogis or mystics are the devotees, as confirmed by the Lord Himself in Bhagavad Gita 647. Yoginam apisarvesham madgatenantaratmana shadhavan bhajate yomam sa me yuktatamo mataha. Of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is the most intimately united with me in yoga, and is the highest of all. The best yogi is he who constantly thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the core of the heart. Because Rantidev was the king, the chief executive of the state, all the residents of the state became devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, by the king's transcendental association. Now we have a stark contrast, what's going on in America today. You all know the details. This is the influence of a pure devotee. If there is one pure devotee, his association can create hundreds and thousands of pure devotees. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said that a Vaishnava is meritorious in proportion to the number of devotees he has created. A Vaishnava becomes superior not simply by jugglery of words, but by the number of devotees he has created for the Lord. Here the word Rantidev Anuvartina indicates that Rantidev's officers, friends, relatives, and subjects all became first-class Vaishnavas by his association. In other words, Rantidev is confirmed herein to be a first-class devotee, or a Mahabhagavata. Mahat Sevam Dvaram Ahur Vimukte. One should render service to such Mahatmas, for then one will automatically achieve the goal of liberation. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has also said, Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nishtara Paye Chekeba. One cannot be liberated by his own effort, but if one becomes subordinate to a pure Vaishnava, the door to liberation is open. Text 29, 19 and 20 rather. From Garga came a son named Shini, and his son was Gargya. Although Gargya was a Kshatriya, there came from him a generation of Brahmanas. From Mahabirya came a son named Duritchaya, whose sons were Triruni, Kavi, and Pushkaruni. Although these sons of Duritchaya Duryodhana took birth in the dynasty of Kshatriyas, they too attained the position of Brahmanas. Brihadraksha had a son named Hasti, who established the city of Hastinapur, now New Delhi. Text 21. From King Hasti came 3 sons named Ajamida, Dvimida, and Purimida. The descendants of Ajamida, headed by Priyameda, all achieved the position of Brahmanas. Purport. This verse gives evidence confirming the statement of Bhagavad Gita that the orders of society, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, are calculated in terms of qualities and activities, gunakarma, vibhagashaha. All the descendants of Ajamida, who was a Kshatriya, became Brahmanas. This was certainly because of their qualities and activities. Similarly, sometimes the sons of Brahmanas or Kshatriyas become Vaishyas. Brahmana, Vaishyatam Gata. When a Kshatriya or Brahmana adopts the occupation or duty of a Vaishya, Krishigo Rakshavani Jam, he certainly is counted as a Vaishya. Now, just for you new persons in the room, these are the 4 divisions of human society. And they're there, and they're everywhere. In every human society, there are people who are naturally inclined towards intellectual work or spiritual work. In the Western world, they become professors, university professors, or scientists, or poets, or intellectuals, philosophers. And then there's a class of men who are into leadership, politics, military, that kind of thing, protection of people. And then there's persons who naturally are inclined to grow things, to do business, to produce things, bankers, businessmen, agriculturalists. And then there's a class of men who like to work. There's a class of men who like to work. So those divisions are natural divisions created in the beginning of the universe by the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the information content that is contained within His transcendental form. So if now in India there's a kind of a bad press that India has, that they're in a caste system. And the caste system means you were born a certain thing, and that's what you are. It doesn't make any difference what you are. It's where you were born, what you were born into. But here, the truth is that in these verses of this part of the Bhagavatam, it's described that a person's classification in terms of his ability to work and his tendency to work is not by birth, but it's actually by the inclination and by the ability to work, by the qualities. When a Kshatriya or Brahmana adopts the occupation or duty of a Vaishya, he is certainly counted as a Vaishya. On the other hand, if one is born a Vaishya, by his activities he can become a Brahmana. This is confirmed by Narada Muni. Yasya ya lakshanam proktam. Bhagavatam 7:11-35. The members of the Varnas or social orders, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, must be ascertained by their symptoms, not by birth. Birth is immaterial. Quality is essential. Text 22. From Ajamida came a son named Brihadishu. From Brihadishu came a son named Brihadanu. From Brihadanu a son named Brihatkaya, and from Brihatkaya a son named Jayadratha. 23. The son of Jayadratha was Vishada, and his son was Senajit. The sons of Senajit were Ruchirashva, Dridahanu, Kasha, and Vatsa. Text 24. The son of Ruchirashva was Para, and the sons of Para were Pritusena, and Nipa. Nipa had 100 sons. 25. King Nipa begot a son named Brahmadatta through the womb of his wife, Kritvi, who was the daughter of Shuka. And Brahmadatta, who was a great yogi, begot a son named Vishwaksena through the womb of his wife, Saraswati. Purport. The Shuka mentioned here is different from the Shukadev Goswami who spoke Srimad-Bhagavatam. Shukadev Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, is described in great detail in the Brahma-Vaivarta Purana. There it is said that Vyasadeva maintained the daughter of Jabali as his wife, and that after they performed penances together for many years, he placed his seed in her womb. The child remained in the womb of his mother for 12 years, and when the father asked the son to come out, the son replied that he would not come out unless he were completely liberated from the influence of Maya. Vyasadeva then assured the child that he would not be influenced by Maya, but the child did not believe his father, for the father was still attached to his wife and children. Vyasadeva then went to Dwarka and informed the personality of Godhead about his problem. And the personality of Godhead, at Vyasadeva's request, went to Vyasadeva's cottage, where he assured the child in the womb that he would not be influenced by Maya. Thus assured, the child came out, but he immediately went away as a paribrajacacharya. That means one who was traveling, no house, no home, just traveling. When the father, very much aggrieved, began to follow his saintly boy, Shukadev Goswami, the boy created a duplicate Shukadev who later entered family life. Therefore, the Shuka Kanya, or daughter of Shukadev, mentioned in this verse, is the daughter of the duplicate or imitation Shukadev. The original Shukadev was a lifelong brahmachari. An interesting, in another Purana, described by Jiva Goswami, one of our chief spiritual authorities, described that after Shukadev ran away, Vyasadeva, who was also a very, very exalted person, he was a literary incarnation of God, and he edited the Vedas and brought the Srimad-Bhagavatam, which we're reading right now, into the world by his meditation. And he sent out his disciples along the path that Shukadev was walking and had them recite different verses, very nectarian verses from the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. Shukadev kept hearing these verses and he was attracted. He was liberated. He was not thinking he was the body, but even liberated souls become attracted to the sound of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, which we're reading right now. So then he eventually became so attracted, he went back to his father and heard the whole Srimad-Bhagavatam. Before he came out of the womb, he heard just a little of the Bhagavatam, and then he came out. But now he heard the whole Bhagavatam. And this is a painting of him when he was wandering around naked, and he came to this place where Parikshit Maharaj, the king of the world, was fasting to death because he had been cursed by a Brahmana boy. And all these sages had come to be with Parikshit because he was a great soul, and they knew it was a very important moment in the history of the world. So when Shukadev came, everyone simultaneously bowed down to him, even though he was only 16 years old, and he was just running around naked. He looked like he was like an urchin. But everyone could see that this person knew everything. So they put him on the seat, and they inquired from him. And he was the first to speak this Srimad-Bhagavatam into the public arena. Therefore, we have it now. We're reading just the English, but there's a Sanskrit text that goes with each English translation of the verse that was spoken directly by Shukadev Goswami. Okay. Text 26. Following the instructions of the great sage Jajishwaya, Vishwaksena compiled an elaborate description of the mystic yoga system. From Vishwaksena, Udakshena was born. and from Udakshina, Balata. All these sons are known as descendants of Brihadishu. Text 27. The son of Dvimida was Yaminara, whose son was Kritiman. The son of Kritiman was well known as Satyadriti. From Satyadriti came a son named Dridanemi, who became the father of Suparshva. 28 and 29. From Suparshva came a son named Sumati. From Sumati came Satiman, and from Sanatiman came Kriti, who achieved mystic power from Brahma and taught 6 Samhitas of the Prachasama, verses of the Samaveda. The son of Kriti was Nipa. The son of Nipa, Udgrayuda. The son of Udgrayuda, Chemaya. The son of Chemaya, Subira. And the son of Subira, Ripunjaya. Text 30. From Ripunjaya came a son named Bahurata. Purumida was sonless. Ajamida had a son named Nila by his wife known as Nalini, and the son of Nila was Shanti. The son of Shanti was Shushanti. The son of Sushanti was Puruja, and the son of Puruja was Arka. From Arka came Brahmashva, and from Brahmashva came 5 sons, Mudgala, Yaminara, Brihadvisha, Kampila, and Sanjaya. Brahmashva, Barmashva, prayed to his sons, "O my sons, please take charge of my 5 states, for you are quite competent to do so." Thus his 5 sons were known as the Panchalas. From Mudgala came a dynasty of Brahmanas known as Maudgalya. Text 34. Mudgala, the son of Brahmyashva, had twin children, one male and the other female. The male child was named Divodasa, and the female child was named Ahalya. From the womb of Ahalya, by the seam of her husband, Gautama, came a son named Shatananda. Text 35. The son of Shatananda was Satyadriti, who was expert in archery, and the son of Satyadriti was Sharadwan. When Sharadwan met Urvashi, he discharged semen, which fell on a clump of shadagrass. From this semen were born 2 all-auspicious babies, one male and the other female. Text 36. While Maharaj Shantu was on a hunting excursion, he saw the male and female children lying in the forest, and out of compassion he took them home. Consequently, the male child was known as Kripa, and the female child was named Kripi. Kripi later became the wife of Dronacharya. So now we've come down to 5,000 years ago, contemporary of Krishna, because Dronacharya was the teacher of the Pandavas and the sons of Dhritarashtra, and the fratricidal war that happened between them resulted in the Battle of Kurukshetra, in which Krishna appeared and spoke the Bhagavad Gita. That's this painting here. Krishna and Arjuna on the chariot. They're in the middle of the battlefield where a lot of soldiers assembled from all over the world to decide who was going to be the sovereign of the earth. A demoniac person or a divinely inspired person. That was 5,000 years ago, and that was the beginning of the Kali Yuga. And then Krishna left very soon after that, and the Kali Yuga, which we are now experiencing, called the Iron Age, Industrial Age, Technological Age, the Age of Ignorance, no spiritual knowledge anymore, and we're experiencing it ourselves. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 9th canto, 26th chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled The Dynasty of Bharata. So this book is like a drama, really big drama, that lasts from the beginning of the universe until past the time when Krishna appeared, and even past the time that we're living now. And it will tell, in the 12th canto, it will tell what will happen at the end of this age. So the transcendental authority of the book can be ascertained by hearing it with faith, because in part of the book it describes the various incarnations of Krishna, when they appeared, who their parents were, what their mission was. And about 5,000, this was written 5,000 years ago, and Buddha is described. Parents' name, his mission, everything. And that was 2,600 years ago. So that means 1,400 years before Buddha appeared, his appearance was described precisely. And then, just as in the revelations of the Bible, there is a personality described called the Apocalypse. He rides a white horse and carries a double-edged sword. So the Bhagavatam describes Kalki Avatar to be the last incarnation of Krishna to appear. And he kind of removes the demoniac influences in a very intense way by killing all the demons, and then starts the Satya Yuga, or the age of goodness, up again. Because if you just leave the material nature alone, it heals itself. Just like you cut your hand and you just leave it, it heals itself. And the earth is like that also. Now they've raped the earth in so many ways, polluting it with all these pesticides and so many artificial things. But if you leave it alone, the earth will heal itself, just like the human body will heal itself. Because the earth is actually a living being. Okay. 7 o'clock, we'll stop the reading for tonight and open it up for reflections. Anything that you've heard that's stuck in your mind that you want to reflect upon, share with us, or you want to hear more discussion about, or you want to inquire about, please feel free. We have a little microphone, little bumblebee microphone that is run by our tech support guy, and we have 1,700 personalities out there in cyberspace waiting to hear what you have to say. Hare Krishna.
No pressure.
No pressure.
I was saying that so many people are following the page.
How much battery left? We only had 50%. I forgot to plug in my phone before we came in. Got a little distracted.
Show me if I only go show without closing the video.
Anyway, leave it. If it shuts, it shuts. That's providence.
It hasn't popped up.
That's providence. It'll pop up if it turns off. Yes, Rasika Shiromani.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Once again, this is a marvelous reading tonight. I'm really taken by Ranti Dev.
Mm-hmm.
What a personality, and what incredible austerity. Certainly not an ordinary personality or ordinary human being. But I thought maybe you could sort of comment on this personality. You might wonder, okay, so does it mean that we have to follow this example of fasting for 48 days and giving up our food to whoever comes down the road, or some similar type of thing? So maybe you could comment on, Ranti Dev, the personality Ranti Dev, and how he lived kind of in the greater context of bhakti and the Srimad-Bhagavatam.
That's a wonderful question. Thank you very much. The answer is obviously no. We don't have to imitate Ranti Dev. We can't, first of all, and do extreme fasting. This was in another time. This was millions and millions and millions of years ago, when personalities were born with capacities to do austerity and perform mystic yoga. They were born with the capacity. But in this age, we don't have those same capacities. So we can't imitate that. We can follow the principles of trying to reduce our eating and our sleeping and our, sense gratification as much as we can, and still keep balance and still keep our senses and our mind in a equilibrium so that we can actually think of Krishna. Because the goal of life is to think of Krishna, as we heard in that one purport. The goal of yoga is actually to think of Krishna all the time. So for our age, Lord Chaitanya came, and our Srila Prabhupada, my spiritual master, my direct Diksha Guru, who initiated me in 1972, he was the representative of all these personalities before him. The essence of their teachings, he showed us how to follow those teachings now, in this time and circumstance. And he represented Lord Chaitanya, who is the personality, the original personality of Krishna, who appeared as a devotee of himself 500 years ago. And he brought with him the Yuga Dharma, which means the process for this age that will get us the same results as the process in the earlier ages that Ranti showed us the perfection of. And that process was the same, but done according to time and circumstance. We need to become pure, and how we become pure is to control our mind and senses and follow 4 regulated principles. No intoxication, be free from gambling, from meat eating, and from illicit sex, means sex outside of marriage. If we do that, then our minds and senses become purified, and then we chant the holy name of Krishna, congregationally or by ourselves, or both, and hear the Srimad-Bhagavatam, and serve the deity, and try to spread this consciousness. That's the Yuga Dharma. You can get the same result of fasting for 48 days and giving everything to everyone else until you don't have anything by doing that. Yes, Ananteshwar, please.
Maharaj, in this 17th verse, it talks about Swapnavat, which means about dreams.
Sapnavat, yeah.
So it says it says, when one awakens, however, the activity is automatically merged into the mind, whereas the dream is an illusion, and the reality we are something else. So I would like you to please, throw some light on this. How does the dreams affect?
Well, the soul has a spiritual form, and that spiritual form is made of different energy than our material form. The soul is covered by gross separated energy of Krishna and subtle separated energy of Krishna. The subtle separated energy, the gross energy is obvious. It's the earth, the water, the fire, air, which makes up our gross material body. And the subtle energy that covers the soul and the senses of the soul and the mind of the soul and the intelligence of the soul is made of mind, intelligence, and false ego in the material energy, separated material energy. So as long as the soul is influenced or covered by that material energy, then his perception is distorted and he becomes illusioned. He thinks that he is the body. he thinks that the things that belong to the body are his. And then the extension of all that consciousness means this country is ours, and these things that I, own belong to me, etc., etc. And in this way, he becomes conditioned by those separated material energies. But underneath it, there are real senses. So the example is being given to explain to us how we can see for ourselves that we're not the body and that we're not the mind. This analysis of the dream and waking, these are the three different states of consciousness in the material world. There's the waking state, the dreaming state, and the deep sleep, in which we forget everything. That's the time that we get rejuvenated health-wise, as you know better than me, as an Ayurvedic doctor. Something I've bereft of lately. Anyway, that's another thing. So, when a person dreams at night, then the subtle body acts as a repository of the experiences we have in this material world through our senses. Everything that we've seen, everything that we've heard, everything that we've smelled, everything we've tasted, everything we've felt, those things make an impression on the subtle body. And so the subtle body becomes literally a factory for manufacturing material desires. And the materials to make the material desires are all the things that we've seen. Therefore, at night, we tend to have dreams that correspond to things that we experience during the day. And sometimes even from another lifetime, and then they don't make any sense at all. Sometimes they do make sense. Sometimes they don't make any sense at all. But the point is that the soul, the spiritual being, which is inside the subtle body, and then the subtle body and the soul goes inside the gross body, is experiencing the emotions and the sensations and the experiences that we have in a dream. And then, when we come back into our material body and we're in the bed, trying to figure out what to do next, get up, oh yeah, I remember I'm such and such, I had to go and do this, I had to brush my teeth and go to work and whatever it is that we're doing. So that person who feels the experiences in the dream, that then we forget. We get into this body and then we forget the dream. Sometimes when you're not sane, you won't forget the dream, and then you'll end up in a loony bin somewhere, But I thought I was Lincoln, or I thought I was a pigeon, or I thought I was whatever. Then he comes into this body and he thinks this is real because it's lasting longer. But the truth is, when the soul leaves the body, then he realizes, if he's lucky, if he's fortunate, he realizes that this waking state is the same as the dreaming state. It's illusion. We have to leave the body. This is the proof that the soul is different than the body, and that the soul is different from the mind. So that's the point of this verse, and that's the point of that description. That these are means for this is real meditation, not to try to stop the mind. You can't stop the mind. Who can stop their mind? You can't stop it for a second. Even if you could stop it for a second, then immediately would rush in and anyway. So the point is that the spirit soul is a conscious living being with senses, personality, desires, but they're spiritual. Spiritual body, spiritual mind, spiritual senses are all made of different energies. And we can see and taste and feel and smell and feel and have emotion and everything because of the presence of the spiritual body within the gross and subtle body. And if you can meditate on that and actually understand it and experience it yourself, and it's possible, this is real meditation. You have to think for yourself. What about that dream when I was flying through the sky? How did I feel? It was nice. Sometimes it's so nice when you wake up, you go back to sleep, you try to get back into the same dream. I think they made some movie about it, People could go to sleep and then meet together on the subtle platform and do all these things and adventures and stop bad things from happening in the future and all these crazy, science fiction ideas, mental concoctions. And all these things we get into because we want variety, we want something new, we want something permanent. We're tired of the ordinary, dull suffering in this material world. But you can't get it here. It's like we're looking in the wrong place for reality. That's material existence in a nutshell. We're looking. There's a story that Prabhupada told. There was a man and he lost the keys to his car, and he had a really extremely important appointment with somebody that he had to get to, otherwise he was going to lose his job. Something bad was going to happen. So he was down on the ground looking for the keys to his car. His friend walks by and he said, "What are you doing? What happened?" "I lost the keys to my car and I got an appointment with this person, and if I don't make it, it's going to be the end of me." He said, "Well, can I help?" "Yeah, sure." He said, "When was the last time place you remember?" It was about 500 feet down that way. He said, "What are you doing over here?" He said, "There was no light down there. There's a light post here, so I'm looking here." So he was looking in the wrong place. Maybe for the right thing, but in the wrong place. So as long as we're looking for eternal happiness and satisfaction in the material world, we're looking in the wrong place. But one has to first of all get this. The basic teaching of the Bhagavad Gita is we're not the body. This is the essence of the problem. Everyone's trying to be equal. Nationalities, sex, race, religion, everybody's trying to be equal. And of course we're not equal materially. Everybody's different. Spiritually we're equal, but we're not equal materially. So unless we actually come to the platform of realizing that we're not the body, and neither are those, that's what Rantidev was all about. He was realizing that everyone's a soul, and that the differences are just temporary, and they're not meaningful. The difference is actually spiritual. And therefore when you see that for yourself, by spiritual consciousness, by hearing and chanting and remembering and serving and realizing that everyone is a soul and that the soul is guided, things are going on in our body that we don't know about. We eat, and then what? How many people know what's going on after you eat in the body that makes everything work and everything grow and everything, even the most advanced medical people, they don't know what, it's too complex. The human body, each cell of the human body is more complicated than Houston. Each cell, that's a fact. They can actually look at it through an electron microscope and see how complicated the cell is. And we're being taught that which all the cells together make a human form, how perfect design. If I didn't have a little bone in this finger, it would just be flopping around. I wouldn't be able to pick anything up or do anything with it. It's such a, what's the word? Elegant design, the human form. But I didn't have anything to do with it. I didn't design it. I didn't create it. I didn't have anything to do with it. I just ended up in this body, and I got this facility, this wonderful human life facility, which gives me an opportunity to think of these things, which the animals and the fish and the birds and the trees and the grass cannot do. This is the difference between the human form of life and the other species of life. We can get together like this, and we can try to understand who we are. So once you actually get it, You know how they have a saying now? Got it. They said, what about it? Yeah, I got it. I got it. I get it. I get it. Once you get it, actually get it, then your vision changes. And then you can treat people equally. You can see people equally. You're no longer afraid of what's different. And that is the source for all of the economic, political, social, religious problems of the world. Then you can follow the laws of nature rather than always trying to go against the laws of nature. Try to conquer the laws of nature. That's ignorance. You cannot conquer the laws of nature. They're acting against the laws of nature, taking down the forests in Brazil, which is the breath of the earth, and so many other things. And now there's floods, and there's hurricanes, and there's earthquakes, and there's fires, and there's inclement weather everywhere. It's whole things turning on, and it's because of what we're doing. Everyone is getting exactly what we deserve, not a penny more or a penny less. That is spiritual knowledge. And once we get it, and we start to actually act like a spirit soul, and when we act like a spirit soul, we'll recognize that it doesn't belong to me. Not even this body doesn't belong to me, because I'm going to have to leave it. I don't want to leave my body. Who wants to get old? I always say this thing because I'm old now. Don't get old, it's a mistake. I say to all the young people. They just laugh. Oh, They haven't got the foggiest idea what I'm saying. But wait till you get there. Then it's a whole other game. And you got pains, and you can't jump, and you can't do this, you can't remember things as well. And you don't want it, you don't like it, but it's there. And you've got to deal with it. And this is how you deal with it. You inquire. Atato Brahma Jigyasya. That's the first aphorism of the Vedic knowledge, of real knowledge. Atato Brahma Jigyasya. Now. What does now mean? Now that you've got a human form, because if you didn't have a human form, you couldn't be reading it. Atato, now. Brahma, absolute truth. Jigyasa, inquire. Now, you have a human form. Inquire about who you are. Inquire about why you're suffering, even though you don't want to. Inquire why you're forced to get old, even though you don't want to. Why? And keep inquiring. And if you're sincere, you'll come into this room, or some room, doesn't have to be this one, but some room, where the Bhagavatam is being spoken truthfully. And then you can join, as I was saying to you in the beginning when you came in, the real family. There's only one Father for everyone. That's Krishna. And all the religions are talking about him from a different angle, but hardly any of them know what God looks like and what God does, what's going on in the spiritual world, what spiritual activities actually are. What is the meaning of life? Why are we here? These things are available. And all you have to do is accept it. That's it. And learn the science, the spiritual science of the self. How to act like a soul, even though you're in the material body. That's called sadhana bhakti. That's the practice of devotional service. And by practicing devotional service, one comes to the platform of self-realization. From self-realization, we learn who Krishna is. When learning Krishna is, we fall in love with Krishna, because he's the supreme lovable object. He is the source of our love and the object of our love. And we are the source of love for him. That's real family life. And in the spiritual world, there's a world beyond this world where we have everything we have here, except it's made of different energy. It's not made of material energy. And there's no time forcing us to do things. The force that causes us to do things there is love, pure love, selfless love. And that consciousness is described in the Srimad-Bhagavatam that we're just reading about. And it also tells us all kinds of complicated things that happen to us when we get into the material world that teach us what not to do. It teaches us what not to do, and it teaches us what to do. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada, he said, yes, Bhakta Jorge.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I was hoping if you could help me understand this just a little bit better. I was looking at text 3, and it says, thus he underwent considerable suffering along with his members of his family. It's talking about Rantidev. And indeed he and his family members shivered for want of food and water, yet Rantidev was always remained sober. So it's saying that Rantidev was always sober, like he's pretty much undisturbed by these things. And he's giving all these things to all of the guests. But what got me thinking is, what about his family? I kind of feel like his family is a little bit maybe neglected. And are they also undisturbed by these things? Or are they kind of like, hey, well, you're giving these things to all these guests, but what about us?
Naiva kinchit karot miti yukto manyate tadpavik. Pashan shinvan sprishan jigran ashnan gachjan swapan shwasan. Pralapan bisrijan grinan unmishan nimishan napi. Indriyan indriyarteshu vartanta itidarayan. A person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects, and that he is aloof from them. So you do not neglect your family by coming to that consciousness. Just the opposite. Your family members become like you by association. So although they appeared to be suffering like that, they weren't. I use this example a lot because it's in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita by Sanatana Goswami. It's explaining how it is that persons who are the most spiritually advanced sometimes externally look like they're suffering. They're suffering from separation from Krishna. You make it colder and colder and colder and colder, it becomes dry ice. And then you can't touch dry ice with your fingers. If you put dry ice on your body, on your skin, it feels hot. And in fact, you take it off and there's a burn. It burns you like it's hot. It's cold, but it acts like it's hot. So the persons who are in spiritual consciousness may act like they're suffering, but actually they're not. And to be able to see that, and to be able to accept it, and to be able to associate with persons who are spiritually aware or spiritually fixed in their sober, that's the word that was used, dhira. He was sober. Even though his body was going through all these things, he wasn't disturbed. And as a result, his family were not disturbed. His family, in association with him, became undisturbed, and therefore, rather than just stroking each other's bodies and thinking that that's the goal, he taught them how to be dhiras tatra namuyati. He taught them how to be sober at the time of death. Where all of us have to leave the body. Dhiras tatra namuyati. Those who are sober, they're not bewildered when we leave the body. I know that this knowledge is sobering. That's what sober means. We're intoxicated by the material energy, and therefore sometimes we think we're something we're not, or we'll run through the streets naked with a lampshade on our head and think that we're having a good time, and they do so many crazy things nowadays. Hare Krishna. Okay, I got an appointment at 7:30 and it's 7:26. So I see all you guys later. I got to go do my thing. I have an appointment. Thank you so much. We'll pay our respects to Ranti Dev. King Ranti Dev ki jai. Do we have anything from cyberspace? Okay. Thank you very much. All of you who are here for the first time, we welcome you with open arms. Please try to understand what was said. Apply it into your own. Think about it. Don't accept anything blindly. Learn how to inquire. Don't blindly follow, and don't ask stupid questions. By learning this knowledge, you'll know what to ask. And if you ask properly, you'll be taken to the conclusion of human life, and you yourselves can become beacons of spiritual light and spiritual love and consciousness. And be a part of the solution rather than a part of the problem. Okay? Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. See everyone tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, right here at the live studios in Radha Lane. Hare Krishna.